Welcome, I think you'll die tomorrow. Forget all the problems you have in your mind right now. The internet being too slow, your coffee arriving cold, or the rent you have to pay. Now we're throwing you into a time machine and launching you about 1,000 years back right into the middle of Europe. Congratulations! You just entered the biggest survival game in history, and spoiler alert, you will probably lose the game. If when you think of the Middle Ages you imagine shining armored knights, romantic castles, and dragons, throw those Hollywood movies straight into the trash. The real Middle Ages was a place of the smell of excrement, endless religious wars, and where a small cut on your finger could kill you within 3 or 4 days. If you weren't born as a king back then, which 99% chance you were born a peasant, your life was nothing but working and trying not to die, just struggling to survive. 2. What's for breakfast? The sun has risen, you started the day. There is no alarm, the thing that wakes you up is probably the sound of a few pigs in your hut rubbing their noses against your feet. The place you call home is a single room hole made of mud and straw mixture where you sleep together with your family and the animals inside. Why are you sleeping with the animals? Because outside is freezing and the cow's body heat is the only heater warming you. What's for breakfast? If you are lucky, a piece of stale, rock-hard, darkened bread. No tomatoes, no potatoes, no cucumbers, no corn. None of these have been discovered yet. Only grains, and if you are lucky, some cabbage. Do you want to drink water? Do not do it. The river water competes with the waste from the tannery in the upper village and the toilet your neighbor has made into the river. That's why everyone, including babies, drinks diluted beer or wine. Yes, in the Middle Ages, everyone was generally slightly tipsy throughout the day. 3. The brilliant solutions of medicine. Let's say your tooth hurts right now, or your stomach feels nauseous, or you have a pain in your abdomen. Are you going to see a doctor? At that time, the person you call a doctor is actually the neighborhood barber. Yes, the man who cuts your hair and beard also cuts your leg. And do you know what the most popular treatment method is? Bloodletting. Does your head hurt? Let's drain some blood. Did you get the plague? Let's drain it all. While they are draining that bad fluid from your body, they are actually bringing you one step closer to death, but hey, at least they say, "We tried. It did not work." If you are lucky, they make you drink a potion like a mixture of frog leg and holy water. If it does not work at all, they close the subject by saying God wanted it that way. 4. The Black Death, final boss. And of course, the real star of this era, the plague. In 1347, almost a shipful of rats arrived in Europe and the game was over. Orange-sized swellings formed under people's armpits, their skin turned black, and within a few days they were dropping dead one after another. 1/3 of the population disappeared. People were so desperate at that time that they thought it was caused by the alignment of the planets in the sky or by bad air. No one knew what a microscope was. The solution? Beating yourself with a whip and begging God to forgive you, or locking yourself inside your house and waiting for death in front of you. 5. Nights, the smell of sweat. Inside the armor. Remember those shiny, handsome knights in the movies and the armor they wear. Now erase that image from your mind and replace it with this. A man who has not bathed for 3 months, wearing 30 kilos of rusty metal and forced to even relieve himself inside his armor. Yes, because trying to remove that armor in the middle of battle took about half an hour, most knights were literally living inside themselves. Moreover, these men were not fighting for honor. Most of them were there to steal land, loot villages, and seize the sack of wheat that was the product of your 1 year of labor. If a knight challenged you to a duel, you had no chance of backing down. Because at that time the rule was whoever is strong is right, and it was believed that God was always on the side of the winner. So if a giant was crushing you, that was proof that you were guilty and that you were being punished. Logical, right? 6. The justice system. If you're innocent, you drown. If you were accused of a crime in the Middle Ages, the legal system was not based on evidence and proof like today, but on absurdities called divine judgment, ordeal. For example, are you suspected of being a witch? They tie your hands and arms and throw you into the lake. If you sink into the water, it means you are innocent, but you would most likely drown at that time. If you stay on the surface of the water and do not sink, it means you are guilty because water is sacred and does not accept the sinner. So in both cases, you have no escape. Your ticket is already cut. Or they give you a piece of red-hot iron in your hand and ask you to walk 3 steps. If after 3 days your wound heals, it means God protected you and you are acquitted. If the wound gets infected, too bad, you are suffering and you are guilty. There is no escape. 7. Free time activities. No television, no internet, no parties. Reading books is only for the rich. So what did these people do for fun? The most popular entertainment of the public, executions. I am not joking. The beheading or burning of someone in the middle of the town was like the Netflix premiere of that era. The whole family would gather and watch the execution while chewing their stale, rock-hard bread as if it were popcorn. If there was no execution that day, they would spend time with activities that would be considered completely psychopathic by today's standards, such as setting wild animals against each other, or watching the Mad Men and laughing for fun. Your ancestors fought for 1,000 years to survive, but for you everything consists only of this comfort just 1 click away. Subscribe so you do not miss the next disaster and to be instantly informed.